This is the Leica M EV1, Leica's first M-mount camera with only an EVF and no rangefinder window. Why would Leica make a camera like this? I thought about that question a lot. Here is my answer. Most of the Leica community still asks the question, why would Leica make a camera like this? Why would they remove the rangefinder window and put here a EVF? By the way, this is not my camera. This belongs to Foto Görlitz from Foto Görlitz. I will talk about him a little bit later in the video. In this video, I don't want to talk about technical specs or how a rangefinder camera works or what the advantages of a EVF are. I think by now we all know that. If you want to know more about rangefinder cameras and how the system works, my first ever video on this channel is covering that subject, and it's still my most successful video. I'm also not going to go deep into technical specs because for the question, why did Leica make this camera and this system and this combination, the technical specs don't matter at all. Let's just agree it's a very well-built camera, as all Leica cameras are. It has a 60 megapixel sensor. It's the same sensor that like in the Q3, the M11, which I don't have, and the SL3. It is going to make, from a technical point of view, it's going to make extraordinary good pictures. No question about that. It's all about the user who uses it and why we would use this camera, and of course why Leica would make this camera. And I thought about that a lot, and to answer the question, I will take you with me to my whole thought process, which is the following. I first came to the M system in 2020 with the M10, and I still got the M10. So when the M11 came out, I of course wanted to have an M11, but then at the time, it was just also an economic and a money thing for me. I couldn't afford it at the time. I already by then had the SL system because I mainly use my cameras for professional reasons and I need autofocus for some of my work. After I got the Q and then the M, I dove in the SL system. So I have here the SL3 now. When the SL3 first came out, I had this idea of a video I wanted to do about how to use the SL3 as an M camera. I don't know why I never did that video, but I show you why I had that idea. Because if you look at an SL3 and if you here look at an M10, we have here two dials on the SL3 and we have here the two dials on the M, and you can customize those dials on the SL. So I made a user profile, which I can show you, which is called Leica M. If you're interested in using this Leica M profile on your SL camera, I have my settings on my website. You can download them for free. I'm going to put a link in the description. When I activate this, everything is set to manual, and I have here, like here, the shutter speed. I have here, like on the M here, I have, and it's the same on the M11, I have the ISO dial, and of course, the aperture is on the lens. From a technical point of view, I have here, it's an SL3, but I have an M11 now. It's the same sensor, it is the same megapixels, it's probably the same color management inside the camera. The only thing I need to use an M lens is the M to L adapter here, which I show you for a second, which is this little adapter ring. With this attached to the SL, you can mount all the M lenses. So now I have what we call like a mirrorless system camera, and I can use it with all the M lenses. Let me mention at this point, of course, this is a Leica SL. This kind of adapters exists for all major brands out there. You can buy a Nikon C to L mount, you can buy a Sony E mount to M mount, you can buy a Canon, I think it's called R mount to M mount. It's all out there. So you don't even need a Leica SL camera to use an M lens with an EVF. So back to my M11 in the SL, and I'm saving money. From a technical point of view, I now have an M11, I have an SL3 with 60 megapixel, I have an M lens mounted, so I can take 60 megapixel pictures with an M lens. Of course, it is not the same experience, and I use the M system mostly for the experience. I talked about that a lot. There are a lot of videos out there I did where I mention that basically what drew me and still like keeps me in the M world is the shooting experience, is the slowing down, is the different way to focus, is the different way to compose a picture with a rangefinder window. Of course, rangefinder M users know we only can use the rangefinder with lenses starting from 28 millimeters. If it goes wider, we need to use the screen or we have to put an EVF on the camera because the rangefinder window doesn't cover wider than about 28, 24 millimeters. I have here my 21 millimeter lens, which I love to use with the SL because here I can compose my picture with the EVF. I can see what the lens is seeing. Here I have to use the screen, or I have an optical special viewfinder that shows me a 21 frame line optically, which is also fun. I did a video about that too. I'm going to link all the stuff I mentioned in the description. If you put an M lens on a system or let's say a mirrorless camera like this SL3 or a Canon or a Nikon or a Sony or whatever, you will not have the rangefinder experience. The same thing now with the M EV1. That brings me again to, this is not my camera, this is Alex Görlitz camera from Foto Görlitz. Alex sometimes sends me stuff that I can try out. We didn't even talk about that camera, he just sent it to me and I can use it for a few weeks and then I'm gonna send it back to him. I don't even take away the screen protection. Thanks to Alex, I can try this out. If you search for anything Leica, check out Alex's website, he has a lot of cool stuff. He also doesn't get to see my videos, so I can say whatever I want. He just sent me the stuff, I can try it out and I'm gonna send it back to him. So thank you, Alex. Okay, this is basically an M camera, but you have not the rangefinder experience. It's gonna be a different experience. To mimic that experience, you can also use a Q camera because the Q, you cannot detach the lens, we know that, but the Q is about the same size. It's even a little bit smaller. And you can, of course, use the Q lens completely manually. You can do zone focusing, you can do everything you can do with an M lens. And on top, you can do autofocus. And that's why I think a Q is such a dangerous camera if you want to break into the Leica system, because it has everything. It has the best of all worlds, except the rangefinder experience. You're not going to get that either, because you have, like on the EV1, a EVF. I even think it's the same EVF that we have on those two cameras, even though it looks a little bit different now when I compare them side by side. After all those thoughts, I came to one conclusion. The Leica M EV1 is its completely own line of cameras. It's like the fourth line of full-frame cameras Leica offers. And one reason why I came up with this conclusion is because the M EV1 is not called the M11V. There was a rumor in the beginning it's going to be called the M11V, and yes, it is close to an M11 body, but they decided to name it M EV1. With that, for me, they created a completely new camera line. And for me, it is very exciting to see where they will go with that. Which product cycle they will have. Are we going to wait like 5 years as we wait with the Q, 4.5, 5 years? Is it going to be longer or shorter? The M cycle is shorter, but we have different variations of each M version. So the M11 came out in 2021 in January. So we're probably going to see next year, it's 5 years later, we're going to see the M12. In between, we had several M variations. This is not an M variation. This is not the M11V. This is its own camera. It's the M EV. I even think at one point they might gonna lose the M. They just called it M because you can use M mount lenses. But actually the M stands for Messsucher, which basically means rangefinder. So the name doesn't make sense that much because we don't have a rangefinder here. We only have an M mount. So maybe the next one will be called LEV1 or LEV2 because we maybe get an L mount at one point and then we have a body that size and we have an autofocus possibility, or they will introduce a new line of M mount lenses with autofocus capability, which then could also be part of the M mount EV series. A lot of playing with characters and names. Just to bring it again to a conclusion, this for me is a completely new line of cameras. So now, in the end of the video, this brings me again to the question, why did Leica make this camera, this EV1, and why did they release it now? I think it's because of you, because of Leica users who own already an M and wrote to Leica for years now, they want to have an M with an EVF. I think it's that simple. I don't think that it is an M entry model for people who want to start with an M and are afraid of the rangefinder system. I think if you're interested in an M, you're also gonna explore the rangefinder system. And because the M is manual, so why would you invest in a manual camera with an EVF? Because focusing is not actually simpler, in my opinion, with the EVF. So for me, when I use the SL, I focus manually, and it's a different thing because I'm not doing it that often. It's actually a bigger challenge for me than using a rangefinder, which I use more often. Maybe it's a practice thing. There's also this theory that it is for people who are losing their eyesight and it's easier with an EVF to focus. I have no idea about that, but for me, I just got a new pair of glasses because my vision is decreasing. But on the M cameras, I don't know if you know that, you can add diopter rings to help you see the rangefinder better. So I have here a 1.5 diopter. I need to change this into a 2 because, as I told you, my eyes are getting worse. I still can work no problem with the rangefinder. But if I don't have this diopter on it, I cannot focus with the rangefinder. And this is from like the start. This is now 6 years in. I have this little ring on here. I really truly think this camera is made for people who just enjoy using an EVF and want to have an M-sized body and not a little bit more bulkier SL body. It's for people who don't care about video, because if you care about video and you want a smaller camera, you can also use the Q3. Of course, you only have the 2 versions of the Q3. You have the 28 and the 43, which I don't have. For me, the camera makes sense because it's maybe a niche product, but in a way, I think when they first did the Q, this was also a niche product, like a camera, a digital camera for a lot of money with a lens that is attached that you cannot change. Who thought it's going to be this kind of success? So will the M EV1 be the same success like the Q system? I don't know. But I am very excited to see what Leica does with that M EV system. And I'm really excited what the next version of that camera will bring. And I'm pretty sure as the original M system, it's going to be around for the years to come. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. If you're interested in how the rangefinder system really works, check out my first ever video on this channel. And do it like me, stay curious.